Okay, I'm going to bring to order the Sunnyvale Type A Development Corporation Board of Directors July 11th meeting to order at 5:03 p.m. We do have a quorum. Mr. K. Paul Cash is absent, but the rest of us are here. I'm going to go ahead and move into the public forum. Do I have anybody in the audience that wants to speak in the public forum? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public forum and move down to discussion action items. Item number 1, discuss and consider approval of the June 13, 2018 regular meeting minutes.
These are in your packet, I'm assuming. Have you been able to pull it up on your laptop? On your iPad?
Pulling now.
If not, I have extra copies. So you need it.
I was able to get it pulled up. So.
That wasn't yours.
It'll take a little bit to bring it up. This needs to be. Yeah, one, you log in. There you go. Okay, so once you've reviewed the minutes for June, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the June minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Weeks and a second from Mr. Miracle to approve the June 13, 2018 regular meeting minutes. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Passes 3-1. Mr. Bachniak was absent. Correct. Okay. We'll move on to item number 2. Discuss and consider the June 2018 financial reporting and related financial items. Ms. Phyllis.
Okay, good evening. Our financial report here as of June the 30th, 2018. We'll see year-to-date revenues of $1,197,873.57. Includes our sales tax reported year-to-date of $296,291.79, like 7 months actual and 2 months accrual. Interest earned year-to-date is $5,799.02. Transfers in total $746,351.98 and include our special assessment activity of $58,851.98 and proceeds from the sale of the property at the southeast corner of Highway 80 in Collins of $687,500, including a gain on the sale of assets of $149,430.78. We have year-to-date expenses of $113,428.44. Our month-to-date expenses include the routine payroll, some legal services, 1/2 of the cost of a custom map mural for the conference room, membership renewal with TEDC, the annual maintenance for Encode Special Assessment Program with Tyler Technologies, subscription with Supermarket News, and some miscellaneous supplies with respect to the Realtor Roundtable event. As of June the 30th, we had net revenues of $1,084,445.13, bringing your unassigned fund balance as of June 30th to $2,240,854.93.
Okay, I'll look at Mr. Bachniak since he's our treasurer, if he sees anything there, and if anybody else has any questions regarding our June financials.
No, I looked at them. They look good. Oh, I'm sorry. They look good. I did have a general question, though. As it ties into the budget for next year, there's a starting fund balance in the budget that starts, and this number is going to be quite a bit different from that. Do those fund balances get rolled into the next year's budget at some point before we get into that fiscal year, or how does that work?
Yes, at the end of our fiscal year, September the 30th, whatever that net number is that we end up as of 9/30, whether it be a revenue or an expense, that is rolled back into your fund balance.
Okay.
The reason why you have a different fund balance right now than we're showing on your budget than what we're reflecting on our June financials is mainly due to the sale of the property, which occurred after we prepared the budget.
Got you.
So you will have a healthier beginning fund balance than what is currently showing in the budget, in the proposed budget for 18-19.
Okay, great, thank you. If no one has any questions, I'll make a motion to approve the June financial statements as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Bosniak and a second from Mr. Weeks to approve the June 2018 financial reports as presented. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. We'll move on to item number 3. Discuss and consider proposal for impact data source for impact dashboard in the amount of $47.50. Tracy?
Good evening, board. This is it's an impact tool to be able to help determine incentives when you're looking at what the capital investment jobs, all of that are associated with projects that are going on. So entering in all the data, and it spits out essentially what our ROI would be, what the rate of return is. And so we know all those calculations that everybody keeps asking. So this is just kind of a web-based tool to be able to accurately account for that. They have a default setting that's already in the system that accounts for depreciations, appreciations. They have taken into consideration that Sunnyvale, most of the jobs and projects that we have here, people aren't necessarily going to move to Sunnyvale. So they've calculated for that and dropped that is going to be lower than maybe if a project were to come into some surrounding towns. So it's just, you see in your packets a lot of the information and samples, and then we'll see a sample of a project we're working on later tonight. So I'm asking to be able to get this model, and the cost is $4,750, and then to split it with 4B. So that would just make 4A's cost $23.75. And this was presented to 4B last night. 4B approved splitting half the cost, should 4A decide to do so.
Are there any additional costs down the road aside from this initial payment?
No, sir.
Okay.
It would just be an annual fee should we choose to renew it.
Okay.
I just had a question there. Have you used this before or known people who have used it? I was just curious.
Yes, sir. There have been several other communities that have used this. There's only a couple of web-based programs like this. So I've talked to some of my colleagues and others that they have used, and this one tended to be more straightforward and at a cheaper rate.
It looked like a pretty impressive package from what I saw on there. It looked like it gave you more detail than you probably needed, but if it's useful in doing it.
Well, it does, and just to give you an example, so we did this same concept for Lineage when we were looking at their abatement, and it cost $750 for that one report. And it wasn't able, you couldn't go in and do different scenarios unless you're going to get charged for it. So in this, I can go in and do one project and do 5 different scenarios looking at different numbers. So it's just easier to be able to help do some of that rather than paying $1,000 per project.
Okay, so you need a motion and approval
Correct.
for the expenditure.
I'll make a motion to purchase the, how do you say this? The impact dashboard in the amount of $4,750.
And then it would be split with 4B.
Thank you. For half of that amount to be co-purchased with the 4B Corporation.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion for Mr. Miracle and a second for Mr. Bosniak to approve the impact dashboard in the amount of $47.50, or half of that to split with 4B. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Again, passes unanimously. Move on to item number 4. Discuss and consider 2018-2019 budget. Ms. Phillips.
Okay, we had previously, at the last meeting for 4A, y'all had already reviewed the 18-19 budget. However, since that time, we've had 2 items come up that we did not budget for. that we wanted to go ahead and make an adjustment and get them in there before the budget was approved by town council. One of those items is going to be, of course, half of this cost for the data source, that impact data source dashboard of $2,375, and the other change is the annual, not subscription, but annual maintenance that we pay to Encode, who is our financial platform for the town of Sunnyvale, for the special assessment software that we are currently using for the assessment that we have at the park. That is an annual fee that we pay each year to maintain that system. That generates our invoices for the assessments that we send out each year, as well as, keeps all the reporting for us. So that runs about $1,500 to $1,600 in addition to the $2,375 for the impact dashboard. The only change you're going to see on your budget, you can see, is a $4,100 increase under the line item for dues, subscriptions, and memberships. We were originally, when we presented the budget, at $3,000, I'm sorry, for that line item, and we're increasing it by $4,100 to now show $7,100 for 18-19. And that's the only change.
And those special assessments are done, it doesn't go much longer, does it?
The assessments it was a 5-year assessment. We're in year 3, I believe. So we have 2 more years of needing to use the software for sure. And then, we talked about contacting Encode to see if maybe there's a way to, we don't want to completely get rid of it simply because we're not sure that we might, if we did that, we might lose our reporting, the amount of the assessment originally, if anybody ever needed to come back and needed a document or a copy of what was actually done. But maybe there's a way you can kind of turn it off, that maybe we keep it for a lesser fee each year and, maybe be able to turn it back on should the occasion, ever arise where we do another assessment.
Make a motion to approve the budget as adjusted for those 2 items.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Bachniak and a second for Mr. Miracle to approve the 2018-2019 budget as amended. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. So thank you, Ms. Phyllis.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to item number 5. Discuss and consider presentation from the barn at Long Creek. I think Tracy's getting yours. There it is.
It's on the screen, but I have to pronounce them if you want to look at them later.
Thank you.
Get bored.
Thanks, Angie.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, I am Angie Navarro. I reside at 5101 Alexandria Drive in Rowland, Texas. And this is the barn at Long Creek in Sunnyvale. This is a wedding venue that we are proposing to build. We've already been approved. We bought the land at the corner of Pascal and 80, and we're getting ready to close with the bank, hopefully July 31st. So we hope to break ground quickly after that. So this is kind of a dream of mine, my passion. I've done weddings for about 30 years. I love them. Just have never had a place to have one. After doing research and stuff, I decided Sunnyvale would be a perfect place for this to happen.
Love that.
I need more coordinating for this. And that's a rendering of the building that you're seeing there. This is the back side of the building. The land is 5.4 acres. It's a little over 10,000 square foot building. It will seat 300 people comfortably inside. We have a patio that will seat another 125 to 150 people, and outside wedding venue part that will seat 300 also. So you can do inside, outside weddings. We do both. The barn sits about halfway down on the property. The first part of the property that's closest to 80 is the parking lot. So we're trying to keep the noise level down, and we're going to build berms and do all that. So anyway, where I am building a full commercial kitchen because I am a caterer. I do wedding cakes. So we will be able to do a lot of things that most venues are not doing right now, and they're not having kitchens. I go to venues all the time and cater for them, but they don't have kitchen facilities. So this is kind of my big thing is I wanted to have a kitchen just because I do catering. Hopefully, we're wanting to do other kind of events there, not just weddings. We want to do corporate, we want to do city things, we want to do school things. We're in the middle of a lot of small communities. You know, we can be that big place that the school needs to have something if needed. So hopefully that'll be a big thing. This just kind of tells you a little bit about me. That you know, I've done it for a long time. It is my passion. I have a whole staff that works with me already. I will have one full-time employee with me at all times, and then the other stuff will be mainly contract labor, the kitchen help, and the people setting up and doing the different things. I already have brides calling me now, wanting to schedule, so I just need to get a date so I can get started. The utility plan. This is kind of our what we're asking for. The utilities are expensive just because the sewer has to come in from the adjacent piece of property and the water has to come in from a certain place. And so the expenses are kind of high. So this is the plan of what we're asking for help. Honestly, I don't know a whole lot about that slide, so I can tell you everything else. This is just more of the utility sanitary. We will not be able to get gas to the land. We will have to use propane for a while. Hopefully one day that will change, but to start out we're going to have to use propane. This is the layout of the bottom floor. It's a two-story building. Second story is a loft. This is the downstairs with the kitchen and the big open room, and the groom's room is downstairs and the bathrooms. And it's a good layout. I do a lot of weddings. I've done a lot of research on different venues. I go into them and I see, okay, this works, that doesn't work. So this one I have designed myself. So I feel like it's gonna do well. This is the upstairs. The upstairs main event to me is it's about 1,100, 1,200 square foot bridal suite. That may not mean much to you, but to a bride it's very, very important. So we'll have 10 different stations for people to sit and put makeup on and get dressed and all of that. So this to me is my big wow moment of the whole venue, is that we have a really nice place for brides to spend their day. The list of the utilities, I'll itemize out for you. And I think on your packet I added one more page. We will not be getting sales tax on the building. We will get sales tax on our catering and on our cakes, but the rental of the building is not taxable. So, kind of highlighted that on your page. Do y'all have questions? I don't know if you've heard of it before, or I know Paul has.
I have a question. If someone contracts to use your venue, are they also required to use your catering services as well?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
We're going to be all-inclusive if you want us to be, but definitely you can just rent the building and we just have someone oversee it for you. Another thing that I was asked last time, we will not carry a liquor license. People will be able to serve alcohol there under a licensed bartender that we will employ, and we will get that for them, and also security.
So when you say no liquor license, does that include beer and wine as well?
Right.
So the
We
entire,
will not purchase or sell any.
so everything would be BYOB? Okay.
And it's very well maintained. I mean, it has to be in the building. It can't be in the parking lots. You know, it's very structured. But they will, and some people like that. It is actually cheaper than sometimes. So
Sure.
that way we'll still have, we'll still be watching it and supervising it, but we just won't be purchasing.
And is there a reason, not to dominate the conversation here, but is there a reason why you decided to not pursue a liquor license?
I haven't found any venue that's done that yet.
Okay.
I've researched over 20 of them, and I've been to most of those and done events at. Nobody does it that way.
Okay.
And I talked to the liquor board, and they said that this is the way. It takes a little bit of liability off of you.
Sure.
Even though we still carry insurance for it, it still takes a little bit off. And having I've already talked to the sheriff department out here, and they're going to be the security, so they're kind of excited. It's a little extra job for them, so we look forward to spending time with them, and we'll keep it under control.
Thank you.
So the catering done by third parties?
Can it be done by third parties?
Yeah, you said it could.
It can. They can come in.
Right.
They will probably, I haven't quite figured this out. I've got to get a preferred list of vendors together. There's always going to be an exception to a rule somewhere, but You know, the ones that come in and they can use our kitchen, they're not gonna cook in our kitchen. They can use our sinks and they can use our warmers and they can use things like that. But as far as cooking, unless they wanted to come in and pay a fee, then we'll let them. But most places, if you're catering outside, they're bringing their food in from a restaurant or something like that, so.
I was just curious about sales tax revenues on third-party catering. Does that factor in? If they're coming from elsewhere?
You would ask a difficult question.
Paul, you weren't supposed to ask this question.
If I remember right, and I could be completely wrong, from that,
We went to the seminar.
yes, that it would be taxable because of where it's going. So because they would be bringing it to the wedding venue, then we would still collect the sales tax from that. Don't quote me 100% on that. I will verify
I think
that.
that's what we talked about, we went to seminar about it. But hopefully they're just gonna want us to cater, and we're not gonna worry about that.
It's probably bad on me for not attending the sales tax class yet, but is there an estimate of sales tax revenue that's been done? Did Tracy, do we have
Tracy
that?
has it.
So we will discuss all that later.
Okay,
I'll have all those numbers and stuff for you.
thank you.
Anybody else?
I think it's great. The facility looks wonderful.
It's gonna be a
Can't
beautiful
wait.
building. I can't wait to get it done. I'm so excited. Hopefully, we're hoping to be ready by next May. I need to be open for summer brides.
Yes, for sure.
Definitely get it done. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you,
y'all.
Angie.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 6. Discuss and consider presentation from Sunnyvale Park Square. Excuse me.
Good evening. I'm Derek Salser, 345 New Hope Road, Sunnyvale, Texas. I have to start with a quick story. Back in 1999, I didn't live in Sunnyvale, and a buddy of mine at church said, "Hey, you need to move to Sunnyvale. You got some great things going over there. Come, your little baby daughter and your wife, come over and help me get this school built." That was the pitch that K. Paul Cash gave me at church one Sunday morning. I'm sorry he's not here tonight to remember that story. Hopefully he remembers the day they broke ground on the high school. I was standing next to him, so. And then who would have known that little baby was the drum major of the band at the high school, went all 13 years of school here, so it was quite a decision. But during those first years that we lived here, 2000, 2001, there was a new zoning ordinance that had just come into play, and there was this district established called the Town Center District, which is what we're standing in here today. My architecture firm interviewed to design this building. We did not win, as you can tell. Ron Hobbs got the commission for this building. Beautiful facility. Ron does great work. We actually interviewed over at the old town hall, which was a metal building, if you remember that. And if you remember, a resident of that metal building was Bud the cat.
Yes.
And I tell all this long story to say, when next door on our project, we have found the grave of Bud the cat. He is buried behind our property. Our surveyors found it. His headstone's out there and everything. It says Bud the cat from when he was born, when he died. He's 18 years old, died in 2004. So if you ever want to go and see some history of Sunnyvale, just walk behind our property over here. It's on. We had to move an easement to not get to where Bud's final resting place is. That didn't cost any money to do that. So you've probably heard about the Park Square project. This is a project that I think fits the definition of the town center district, trying to connect the town center park, town hall, the bank, this whole region over here of work, play, eat, not live necessarily, but a walkable community, that everything is connected. Tonight, hopefully a year from now, a year from tonight, we could all say, hey, let's go have dinner over here after the meeting, or let's meet for coffee before the meeting. There'll be a coffee shop and a restaurant next door here. There will be some places for local retail, small little retail spaces, an outdoor square venue that's 40 by 50 feet. That'll have lawn games and fun for kids, and a little outdoor music venue, covered patio dining. The main part of the project is a 20,000 square foot office building, which is at the back of the site. In that building, there will be a covered parking lot, which I don't think one exists in Sunnyvale like that now. This will be a Class A office building. So 2 minutes from all of us where we live, basically. I don't have to commute to get to a beautiful building like this anymore. 6,000 square feet of the upstairs is going to be a business incubator space that is called the Sunnyvale Exchange, powered by a company called Co-Create, which does executive suites, collaborative workspaces, co-working. You've probably heard of the co-working concept, but this would be a space where you could have a hardwall office, or you could have an open seat at a laptop bar and have conference rooms that you could rent by the hour or part of your package. But it's a place that businesses can grow and start, and once they grow, then they either grow into another space in the building, or if we have a homegrown Sunnyvale business, we'll build a new building or a new facility, warehouse, office space, or manufacturing for whatever buildings that we can incubate in here. We can build new headquarters for them other places in Sunnyvale as well. So I think it's kind of a catalyst for a lot of different things. We have a law firm that is committed to our building. We have a CPA firm. We have a title company, which would be great to have, and other professionals that are looking at it. Some of them will actually use the facilities of the co-working exchange space, and some will have their own within their own lease space. So just for context, and I'll go through this.
Excuse me.
You've probably seen this. You know where we are. This is kind of the last piece of the puzzle of this quadrant of Collins and Tripp Road. Nice drone pictures. The town now owns a drone, I'm told, and can legally operate it, so that's good. That's my favorite picture because you see Heath and Rockwall, Lake Ray Hubbard, and the school district and everything, the context of what we're talking here. Connecting the school via sidewalks and roundabouts and improved Collins Road, all of these things factor into, I think, the growth of this town center district. And this is not the only part of the town center district. It's on the other side of Collins, as you're probably familiar with as well. This just a little brief snapshot of the site plan, where you can see that green space in the middle.
Did you say there was covered parking?
Yeah, if you can see on this picture here, is that on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. To the left side of your screen, there's about 30 parking spaces that are covered in the garage. To the left of that rectangle that's up and down, gray, to the left of that, that's covered.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you real quick. All right,
Sorry.
here we go. This is a better view. The parking is to the left there,
Okay, yeah.
and then above it that's the office that's above. So the majority of the office space is on the second floor.
Okay, parking
And-
underneath it.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. And on the first floor, you have the restaurant, coffee shop, and then you have actually around 3,000 square feet or so of retail or other space. And we've had realtors look at the space, insurance agents, cleaners, I mean, all kinds of jujitsu studio, I mean, all kinds of people are looking at this. So it's going to be a vibrant, mixed-use project when it's all said and done. So just a little bit of the context, you can see how it connects. We're connecting Town Center Park, the trail system that comes across the bridge now, it comes to Town Hall. We're going to extend that trail all the way up through the heart of our square, through the project, over to the bank's property, and then connect to the trail and the bridge that's built to the bank. So we'll have a loop. So you can have a party over in the park, come over, hang out at Park Square, then or work out over there, and then come over and have a beverage or a smoothie or whatever afterwards. So I think there's going to be some good synergy between the park and our project. The park's one of the major reasons we bought this property. It's a very expensive property. These are just images of what we're trying to capture an old hill country style downtown with brick and limestone and metal and exposed trusses. This is kind of the look and feel and flavor of the building, this too. So a lot of these pictures are from San Antonio and Georgetown, but towns I can't pronounce. This is just a co-working inspiration image of what that collaborative workspace, incubator space would look like. This is just Hope Coffee is the operator of the coffee shop that's going to go in there, and these are inspirational interior pictures of what you might expect. That top middle one, depending on how old you are, you probably recognize that picture. Mr. Miracle?
Is it Friends? Okay.
Friends,
Central
the
Park.
TV show. That
Okay.
is the couch in
All
the
right.
TV show Friends. I'm glad I'm not the only one who noticed that.
It's the zero.
That show created, maybe, to take credit for Starbucks, I don't know. This is the view from Collins, where it would be the front of the restaurant. There is an outdoor fireplace and outdoor covered patio in the front there on the left. In case there's something going on in the square in the back that maybe you want a little different view or a quieter dinner, then you can eat out there. We're envisioning full-service restaurant. Multiple restaurants are in discussions with us. We'll just try to pick the right one that fits the culture of the town. On the right side there would be a storefront that would most likely be a grab-and-go, pre-prepared to-go meals that either would collaborate with the restaurant, have some of their own menu, maybe desserts, etc., and even with the coffee. Then the coffee shop would be around the side that would mostly front or be part of the square. This is the view that you would see from Town Hall. If you're looking up from this direction towards the property. We've had to, we cleared the lot recently, if you've probably noticed. There's a lot fewer trees out there. The reason we cleared like that is the infrastructure that we are required to build for this property, we have to detain all the stormwater. And the new Collins Road is not going to handle any of our detention, to our dismay. So we have to build up the property nearly 5 feet in the back to bury 5-foot diameter pipes that are going to go underneath the parking lot to take our water. So all that to say, that requirement killed all the trees. So that's why we had to take the trees down. But we will put in beautiful landscaping in place of the trees that we took down. The landscape architects working with us are the same ones who are doing the Texas Live, the Ranger Stadium, and all that Arlington project, SWA. Very talented group of guys. They're also doing our courtyard plaza area, which will have the turf, synthetic turf, and it'll have fountains, all kinds of stuff. I've seen that. The project is a little over $7 million. Just since we started designing this last fall. I think we bought the property in September. Price of the project has gone up almost $1 million just since last summer. So
And why is that?
that's a good question, because they can, I think is what the real answer is. But no, it's price increases of concrete, steel, labor, everything is taking advantage of the situation. I don't want to say that, but the contractor that we're using for this is building another project for us right now. So we have a trust with them, and it's an open book thing. So we see that when they say it's $1.1 million to do site work and infrastructure, there's the numbers. And they've had 2 or 3 bids for each line item. So it's not, either everyone's in it to get, they're all in cahoots together, which I haven't ruled that out. But that's insult to injury, interest rates creeping up a little bit. So we are motivated to get going.
Yeah, I've heard that all construction materials are just going up every day. Does that also include like the increased cost to do the drainage now that you weren't anticipating?
Yeah, the increased drainage was, that line item is about $200,000 itself, with the retaining wall and the extra excavation it's going to be fun to watch when they start building that. If you've never seen one of those built, this is going to be a great one to go observe and watch, because you'll be so close to it. Don't walk on the property, but you can, from a safe distance, we'll put a fence up. So one quick other thing, you can see the entrance to the parking garage better in this little 3D rendering. There's barn doors that kind of slide open in the little covered venue area that surrounds the square. That's where the little stage would be for music, and then you can kind of see in that the front right, little outdoor dining area. So we want this to be very family-friendly, inviting space that kind of fits the culture of Sunnyvale. I've talked to hundreds of my friends that live in the town. If you own that property, what would you do with it? And I got hundreds of answers, but the majority of the answers were, give us a local hangout place that we can come, give a place to work so we don't have to drive to downtown Dallas or wherever, and make it family friendly. So that, I think we've checked a lot of the boxes, and you guys can hold us to it as we construct this and operate it. We do plan to manage this property ourselves, and my office will be there. So if there's a problem, I'll tell you what my suite number is. You can come up and talk. That's it. I've talked too much.
Derek, you want to tell them a little bit about the project in Heath?
This is a sister project to the Heath Hub. If you've been out there, have you seen the Heath Hub? It's on Old Ridge, or Ridge Road, where the CVS is, near Heath Crossing or Smurl and whatever the road is right there. We are about 30 days from completing the office building. That office building is 35,000 square feet, and it's got covered parking just like this. And just the office building over there is on 2 acres. This is 2 acres for our entire project. The Heath project adjacent to it is an outdoor venue that is over an acre just for the outdoor venue, which will have a stage and fire pits and outdoor seating and grass turf area for lawn games, and a 4,500 square foot restaurant. So that, with a coffee shop. So all the components over in Heath are in this project too, just Sunnyvale size, condensed down. So yeah, Tracy took a tour of that last week. The power, thanks to our Encore friends, the power is about to be on, so we're almost going to have some air conditioning. So I'm sorry it was a little bit hot during that tour. But yes, the Heath project was a wonderful partnership with the town, with the city of Heath as well. We did receive a very large grant from the EDC over there.
It looks great, and I'm excited.
It's a beautiful
It's going to be
project.
nice and close.
Absolutely.
You had talked about the goals to put a restaurant in there as well, correct? Do you have any sort of restaurant in mind? Has there been any discussions on, any particulars?
Oh, there's been a lot of discussions. I have restaurants in mind, and getting those restaurants to sign on the line to commit is, where we are on some of this. Tolbert's looked at the space. If you've been to Main Street Grapevine, it's a family-owned, nice little concept that would go great here. That's one, they've spent a lot of time over here. We've also had the Buttermilk's owners here in Canton. If you've been to the square in Canton, Buttermilk's is the #1 restaurant in Canton that just doubled in size. So that's the kind of place. We've reached out to the Babes Chicken Dinner House and places like that. But, I think what fits here is something more personal, not a chain. I'm not going to say we're going to turn our back on a chain, but I've told Mr. Lopez and Tino and those guys that I don't want a Tex-Mex place here because we don't want to compete with what they're doing. So whatever it is, we want to work with the rest of the town's restaurant operators to not cannibalize each other. I've talked to Mr. Duncan about his project there at Kearney's and how can we collaborate, not compete, and share live music on Friday night and then come over here on Saturday. I mean, we're already thinking about how to coexist and all succeed and not just try to put each other out of business, which is not what we're trying to do. We want all to be successful.
Ms. Navarro talked about how she was not seeking a liquor license for her venue. Is that something that where do you stand on that? What kind of businesses are you open for?
The Shell building, we won't have a liquor license. I mean, the operators will.
Okay.
So Hope Coffee's already told me they're not going to pursue a liquor license. But I would be really surprised if the restaurant didn't serve some kind of beer and wine. I mean, we don't want a bar over there as a big alcohol producing as its main thing bar. But if it was a craft beer and wine place, that's why we're very selective on who goes in there. We don't want to get a non-cultural fit. So if you have suggestions on who you'd like to see, we don't have a letter of intent signed from any restaurant. And the way this building is designed, we can go ahead and build a Shell building without having that commitment because it's flexible enough and made to just insert, a restaurant.
Do you anticipate how many restaurants? At least 2, maybe 3?
Yeah, I think 3 would be the most. I mean, you have to watch out for parking.
Right.
We can't park more than that amount of square footage, which is about 5,000 square feet of restaurant. We do have a cross-parking agreement with the bank already, and the council will be hearing from us about a cross-parking agreement with Town Hall. It's just, the specifics of it and the time, we don't want to take parking spaces away from Town Hall events and employees, and how do you separate that? We don't want employees of businesses at Park Square parking over here. But we don't want to be the parking police either. We want this to be, if it's a town center district, if you've been to South Lake and all these other towns, it's a free-for-all with parking. And it's only a problem if you don't have enough. So we want to be a good neighbor and figure out this parking, and we will. Our long answer is we do provide enough parking on our property for all of our uses without a
There's
variance.
probably a lot of extra parking at the park, I would think, more
I
than
think
anywhere.
people will park at the park and walk over. Like for the fireworks show, I don't know what to do on a night like that. I will probably be completely swamped with firework folks. That's okay. Come over and eat.
Any
No
questions?
question. It's a beautiful project.
Yes.
Tracy has all the specifics on numbers.
I do have questions for Tracy.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Derek.
Appreciate it.
Do you have questions for her now or later?
Later.
Okay. All right, then, we will move on to, I can put my glasses back on here, to item number 7. Discuss and consider presentation from Alice Shiralis Development. Did I say that right?
You said it right, the development is called Charalis Plaza, everything was.
Thank you.
I'm Alice, 396 Dobson Road, Sunnyvale. Been a Sunnyvale resident for the past 20 years. Been a small business owner with our office in Sunnyvale for the past 12 years on Beltline. We have purchased about 6 acres of land on Beltline, very close to the intersection of Beltline and Town East Boulevard, across from the golf course and next to the Benz tires. That's where the location is. The address is 3501 Beltline Road.
Yeah, we do have it. Yeah, we have, this is,
From,
yeah, and we have this that shows the site.
This is some additional,
okay.
yeah, I'm
Pass it
sure.
around.
Yes, ma'am.
And we are proposing a building, a 2-story building, total square feet 72,000 square feet, with the bottom part mainly for retail and restaurants, retail tenants, and then the top, the second floor mainly for offices. We are focusing on bringing fine dining restaurants, at least 2 on the bottom floor, something similar. Would like to see something similar like a cheesecake factory or something of that sort. We are putting like a 15 feet height on the first floor ceiling so that they can do built outs if the restaurants want to. Also other eateries, retail and service tenants is what we are looking to bring on the first floor. And on the second floor, on the office side, we are looking for some large real estate offices, mortgage offices, small to medium insurance corporate office as well. We will be moving our office to this building once it's complete. Currently, we have an office and the other half is a restaurant. And we're going to be looking to converting the whole building into a restaurant so someone can use it as a like a sit-up good restaurant. Right now, when we put it out fully, so many people have come in and the space was not enough. So once we move, the whole building can be used as a restaurant. This beautiful project will enhance the area and also bring in sales tax revenue to the town, employment opportunities, and services to our community. We are currently planning on groundbreaking first quarter of next year. Right now, we are working with the site plan with the town staff. We have met with them a couple of times, and they've requested some changes to it. So we are back to the engineering group to redraw them and then submit back with the town. The total project cost, the capital investment is $12 million, with $2.5 million in infrastructure cost. And we are needing some help with the infrastructure, and that's why we are here to request some help from 4P and 4A. Do you have any questions?
Can you repeat again where your current office is at?
The current office is actually, the old Kearney building.
Oh.
It's two buildings down. There is a chicken place
Right.
there, and then the other half, we own that building and we office our insurance office in
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. And where exactly is the project now with council, P&Z and all that? Is it?
We are at the site plan with the town staff to get the preliminary approval, and then also replatting, because currently it's 2 lots, and then we are in the process of replatting it into 1.
I got it. So you haven't been at P&Z yet, or?
No.
Not yet,
It
absolutely.
is retail zoning, so unless we need any kind of variances and stuff,
I got you.
currently it's zoned retail.
Thank you.
What's the acreage of the property that you're looking to build on?
It's about 6 acres.
And about how many different storefronts or offices, combined
We
would
can,
that entail?
actually, we are looking about 1,000, maybe 1,500. And then depending upon the tenants, they come in, it's going to be a shell. So then, we can make it the way that they want.
So about 1,500 square foot is what you're saying per?
Per tenant?
Yeah, so like how many tenants would you have on the bottom,
Actually,
you
we
think?
plan to put a restaurant on both sides. Depends upon what kind of restaurant. Maybe need 5,000 or 6,000, 7,000 square feet for the restaurant. The other part, maybe the fast food restaurant, maybe 2,000, 3,000 square feet. You know, that's the way we plan to put. Almost, I believe we can put at least 10, 15 tenants in the bottom, and also upstairs, depends upon. We are really focusing to bring some insurance corporate office. Most probably they need at least 10,000 to 15,000 square feet on the top. And rest of them, we going to move to there. That is going to be around, we need at least 3,000, 3,500 square feet. And common area, we planning to put a elevator also. And then common area, most probably is going to be around 2,000 square feet. Then rest of them, we plan to divide it to what kind of business going to come. And we also focusing to the mortgage company to bring their business office to the building. Really, we don't know how many tenants going to be, depends upon, you know, the office and retail.
Would you envision any restaurant on the bottom level with maybe a patio or outside dining?
We don't have a patio in the plan right now, but if something comes up to that we need to add a patio, we can. Once the site plan is approved, then we can, reach out to some of the tenants that we have in mind and see, what kind of, what they are looking for, and we can make some changes if needed.
Are there any tenants that you would steer away from coming to an agreement with?
Pardon me?
Sure. Are there any kinds of either businesses or restaurants that you would want to, choose to not come to an agreement with?
I would really like to have good. That's what I said. Like good restaurants, fine dining, and then maybe small stores that we are looking. Maybe like a Ben and Jerry's ice cream store or something of that sort. Tenants that would stay and also would be a good service for the community. That's what we're looking. So it will look good as a tenant and also for the community.
Good questions. Anybody else?
So you've got, looks like you have the same retention pond area or
We will
underground?
we will be having a
You
retention
have that
pond.
too?
It has not been, completely, planned out how big it is. It will be worked on. Definitely there will be a retention pond.
And where would that be on the property?
Oh, I'm sorry, I wrote on it, I'm sorry.
It will be towards the back, towards the back of the building.
I'll erase it
Shame
later.
on you.
It's at the back of the property, it looks like.
Yeah, that's what.
Is that a surface retention pond or is that an underground?
Most probably it's going to be service retention pond.
I'm
I
sorry?
think-
It's a service retention pond.
I think that's what it is.
And just to be honest, this project particularly is still on the early stages. They're just going through DRC and going through their plans and how we can get them developed based on what the codes and stuff are.
Yes? Okay,
I think it's an ambitious project for Beltline, which for some of us have been here a long time. It's interesting to see something different taking place on there. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah, you didn't mention medical once.
Medical. There's a lot of medical
There is.
condos on
Yes.
that side already.
Yes, there is.
And if we can absorb all
Pray
that.
and then you go to the medical place.
Yeah. But I'm sure this project will really enhance that area. Right now, there is nothing much around there.
Right, I
And
agree.
it will definitely bring in some more developments across from us. Hopefully, heard that land was sold recently, the 90 acres. So hopefully it will bring developments around us and it will really enhance the area.
Okay, so, great. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, can you get back?
Yes, of course, yeah.
I apologize for
Yeah.
Thank you so
He will
much.
reimburse you for the new contract.
Okay, that's a good stuff, lots of good development. Okay, so we're ready to move to item number 8. Discuss and consider purchasing policy. I guess that would be you, Tracy.
Maybe.
Maybe. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
So, yes, I have this on the agenda. We kind of talked about it with 4B. They had requested in some bids that we did for some things we were doing at the parks, resurfacing tennis courts, stuff like that. The question came in, when do we get more than one quote on something? So that's when the idea of this purchasing policy came up. Told them I'd bring it back, so I figured since I was bringing it to them, it would kind of go hand in hand with 4A. In the process of looking at these, pulled up the town's policy. So what you have in your packet is the town's purchase policy. I had since discovered that 4A and 4B approved an economic development purchasing policy for both boards back in March of 2015. So that is what you have on your dais, is the actual approved.
This one?
Is there 2 different ones, or do I have yours?
Should be on
Fee.
one. So what you have on the dais is what y'all had actually approved back in March of 2015. I still think that there needs to be some changes to these. And in what I have looked at and other purchase policies from other towns, other communities, what you see in your packet in the staff memo under background analysis,
What page is that on? Can you tell me?
page 1.
Yeah.
Go all the way to the back. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4th page from
Okay.
the back. It's hard to number these.
Okay, it looks like it's page, where's the page number at? Page 64 of 69.
My printed out package, I don't have numbers on it, but, so in here it talks
Page
about
64.
what other
packet.
purchase policies have in them. So most of them go by the guidelines that I put here with purchases less than 3,000, no quotes are required, 3,000 to 49.99, 9 informal quotes, and you get at least 3 quotes. So instead of reinventing the wheel, just need to revise our policy a little bit to kind of go with the guidelines that are in the Texas Government Code, which is kind of what I put on this staff memo. So kind of going more along those lines, and then also in your current approved purchase policy, it talks about the bidding procedures. Well, what bidding procedures? There's nothing that outlines what those bidding procedures are. So taking that and further defining what that is, so we actually know if we were to go out for an RFQ, what that entails. And just making sure that everything's outlined so that everybody knows exactly what happens and what goes on.
So since 4B, I don't know if they purchase more, but I mean, they have parks and all that, so they're doing this a lot more. Would you envision 4A and 4B having the same purchasing policy?
I do, just because they would fall still in the same guidelines. If we were to go and do the signage, we would still have to go through a bidding process and get RFQs and all that. So I think that it would still fall under the same guidelines.
So what did they decide, or what were they discussing, or what were they leading to last night? Or
Last night was the same discussion, kind of what we had here. Not to reinvent the wheel, to kind of go with the Texas Government Code says, so kind of following the staff memo and then outlining the bidding procedures. So ultimately, what I'd like is, if you're okay with that, then I'll create a purchase policy to bring back for the next board meeting that you can fully review.
So signage is an example of what we would purchase. What are other examples? I mean, I saw gas credit cards and such as that I don't think
That doesn't,
it doesn't apply to us.
We don't
What
have-
would be other small items that we as a board would be purchasing?
well, we did the maps, we did the subscription to the bidding, or the return on analysis.
the
Weren't
impact
those handled as
dashboard.
action? Okay, then after we approve the purchase.
Then I have
then-
to
Okay, all right,
invoice it
now I'm following. There's nothing that we would individually be purchasing that
No.
would apply, okay.
No,
okay.
this is for purchases made by the staff and then
On
what
behalf
we
of
do in
the,
those
of the board.
processes.
Okay, good,
yes.
okay, now I'm with you.
I did have one question, and I don't want this to sound like I'm not PC or un-PC, but talk about the bidding process, and I take it that means at least two of the contacts. If you're at 3,000 to 50,000, at least two of the contracts listed for quote must be from vendors
Okay.
for the HUD or the hub businesses. Is that a requirement for a lot of places still? I guess,
It was in the government code, kind of briefly looked at that, but it's something I need to look at a little further, to see if that's something that we're required to do. I mean, it says if possible, I don't know.
I mean, I'm all for that, I'm all for giving everybody a shot, but, to me, it comes down to what's the price and what's the quality that you're getting, and, that's what I'm most concerned about, but, if there's other folks that can step up to the plate, whoever that vendor is, I'm on board with that. I just didn't know if that was a requirement that the town follows now, or is that?
It's not in their current, and as you see, it's not in their current purchase policy.
Gotcha.
So that, I just would like to come back with a more formal thing, but I wanted to make sure you were okay with the numbers, and I didn't know exactly what Forby was looking for, and honestly, this came, me finding or being told about the policy that y'all had already adopted came after looking at the town's policy and some of the others, so I think just following the same guidelines that other cities do would be an easy route to take.
Well, since this is new, that I hadn't seen this before, I think this is a good start. I'd like to have the opportunity to kind of read what was done in 2015, just to see if, in my perception, if the cost levels would adjust at all or not. They may not. I mean, I would like to read through this as you're doing your deal, which is great, and then maybe have some input later based on what we read in there or what I see at least.
Sure. And if you're looking, if you look over it and you think about it a little bit more and you have any questions, suggestions, feel free to let me know.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tracy. Okay, we'll move on to item number 9. Discuss and consider updates from ED Director. So was Mike Anderson supposed to be here today?
No, these are just updates. So, kind of want to make sure that when y'all ask for an update on something, to make sure I kind of keep that in the loop. And so y'all had asked about Mike Anderson coming to this meeting to give an update. He said he couldn't make it to this meeting, but he'll be here at the August meeting. I know that's not what Terry wants to hear, but
That's okay.
he said that he would be here at the August meeting to be able
You
to.
just
give
tell
an
him I need a special meeting with him since I won't be here.
I will do that. ABC sewer project, y'all wanted an update on that. Kind of gonna have to revisit the ABC sewer project because it's not really a project that we need to be done and completed right now, but it kind of falls in line with the infrastructure along 80. So looking at other infrastructure projects along 80 that may be more beneficial now. For instance, Fence Supply, helping them bring businesses by helping with the infrastructure along 80 there. There's a couple other projects along 80, getting with the Motleys and finding out if there's anything else that we can do on that side of town as well. So more just looking at the infrastructure along Highway 80 versus the ABC sewer.
Ms. Navarro didn't mention anything about sewer on her facility. Now, that's the south side. South side.
South side of me.
That has sewer,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
It's the north
It's the
side
north that
that's
does.
still, okay, all right.
Collins Road expansion and TxDOT expansion on 352. I asked Leslie about what she's heard about this and where that's at. They're going to give a comprehensive overview and update to council on July 23rd. So she said whenever she gets all that information together, she'll present it to council first, and then we'll get the update on that. General business, commercial zoning areas, I will get that to y'all maybe this meeting, and I was gonna send you the zoning map, just so you have it and can easily reference it. I know Kay Paul was wanting to look at this to kind of figure out where the general business zoning was in town. And then you want to update on Rails to Trails project. This is being reviewed and will possibly be presented to town council again in a future agenda item. But in speaking of that, at Monday night's council meeting, Mr. Clark would like to have a joint council session with 4A and 4B. So we are going to set that date for October 29th. So if you can mark that on your calendar. It'll be a Monday night. Probably look at doing 6:30.
Yeah, I noticed that was the 5th Monday that month. There's 5 Mondays in October. Last Monday,
So we'll
October.
look at doing that and probably talk about kind of the strategic plan, kind of go over all that since we have new council members, new mayor. At that point, we could possibly have Bill do, let everybody know that all board members want to be reappointed for 4A and 4B. So look at that, because at that point in time, new possibility of new board members, new commissions for all the boards, they'll be looked at probably in September. So then at that point, we'll have our boards that are going to be in place, our councils here, so then we can work on those projects. So that is all the updates that I have.
Do you have any questions for Ms. Tracy?
Oh, y'all do have the zoning map in here.
It's in our packet.
Yes, please look at the zoning map that I already put
It's
on.
in there.
Okay, so then we'll move we'll move on to item number 10. Discuss future agenda items and events.
So it's just notating our next regular meeting is August 8th. I'm notating that it's earlier in the month. So I think the first falls on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Falls on a Wednesday. And then next council meeting is July 23rd, August 13th. Just to bring it back, the citizen survey, just waiting to see what ends up going out from the town side to see if we need to add anything additional to that. I've added some comments to what the town had presented to see if we can add any economic development sections to that so we don't have to go out and do our own. So just waiting to see what's picked up and what's not in that. And then now that we have a full-time town engineer on staff 5 days a week, working with him, now that he's got his feet wet, he's been here about a month now, I'll work with him on helping with signage areas, what we need to do, where those locations would be, so that'll start coming back. Because we'll have to look at easements, surveys, they can be located if we have to purchase the property or be given the property.
That's great. You know, besides the signage project, it looks like we have other opportunities after what I saw tonight, so that's good. We can start working on some stuff. Future agenda items. So when do we need to start talking about the luncheon or dinner or awards thing that you want to have in January? Just kind of putting that on your radar screen. So.
Oh, it's on my radar screen.
Okay.
So I am working now, getting the, kind of we talked about at the chamber luncheon today, I've got a list of businesses that I have COs for. So I'm kind of seeing when the businesses in town came to Sunnyvale so we know when their tenures are. And so working through that list, and I'll start picking sections and going through those businesses within that section to find out when they came to town. We have a list of when COs are, but when that got started was 2008. So any business that came before 2008, we're not sure when they came. We are, if you go pull all the files, and you know, we can definitely do that. But for me, it's about meeting them face to face too. So going out and kind of meeting them. So I'll start doing that so we can get that going. I know we had said January, and I have no problem with that date still. We can still make that date work. The more I started thinking about it over the last couple of days, especially after Angie's been up here presenting, thought if she's open, you know, around the first quarter or shortly after the second quarter, that it may be a good idea to wait for her to be open and have it there.
Sure.
Because that would be a nice, she could set out all the tables and chairs, the round tables, and, you know, make it a more formal event that I kind of envision. So I was going to talk to her a little bit further about that and see if she kind of has a firm date and when she's thinking. So may have it more towards the middle of next year rather than the
That's
first
good.
quarter.
great.
It'd be AC, so even if it's during the summer, it's not going to be.
So how are your roundtables coming? I know you had a Realtors one, and have you had any more, and do you have more of those scheduled?
Working, I haven't got it scheduled, but working on an HR one for the next one.
Good. Doing great things for us. Anybody have anything that they would like to see on a future agenda? And if you can't think of anything, you can always just let Tracy know.
I think her agenda's pretty full.
Mhm.
I'm getting the impression. And the Realtor thing was great. Not a huge turnout, but for the first year, we got people that know what's going on in town, which is good, getting some of those people. You know, it's funny because you have folks that work out of Sunnyvale and have been here a while and things like that, that bring good feedback because they've been here a while, they get consistent feedback and things like that. Then you have folks that just kind of pop in, they may have list a house or buy a house. Those are the harder ones to get, you know. So we went to the one in Mesquite and probably had 120 people, but they've been doing that for years, and they do a presentation of the mayor, the superintendent, police chief, economic development person, all four of them.
Department.
And they've been doing theirs for years. They get help from from Metrotex, which is something we would like to do too, to get as it gets bigger. But we're a little smaller market for more people that are heavily involved, you know, in Sunnyvale. So it's a little tougher. But for the first one, I mean, I thought it was great, and I think we could leverage from there. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think one of the ones I would like to see, I don't know if this is what you would title it, but would be like a more like industrial, or, you know, like in the industrial park, manufacturing or industrial type meeting for those folks. When we have had the annual luncheon that the chamber partnered with the EDC, we got a lot of folks that came to that because they were of interest with the topics that were being discussed. And so I think it would be good to get those businesses involved and do something along that line.
And so the next one after the HR one is the CEO, and the CEOs are more, that's going to involve the primary industry sector as opposed to the retail sector.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Speaking of the industrial park, you know, when we took our tour, was it 6 months ago or so? The owner mentioned that he was going to get back with you in regard to some of their desires for improving the appearance down there. Have we ever heard anything back?
We've kind of been looking at a bigger discussion item. So we haven't really talked about the whole landscaping other than currently Vince Hagen is expanding out there, and they're building an office building that it sits on Clay Road. So their landscaping requirements are $40,000 worth of landscaping requirements. Because of the new UDO, they have some higher, stricter standards for landscaping. So that'll start tidying up some of those areas. Now we're talking about the idea of, in our new UDO, we changed industrial zoning to light industrial, but that doesn't account for our heavy industrial users that are out there. So Rashad and I are working with David Jackson and Ms. Hagen on the wording and changing the wording, because in some of the UDO it specifically calls out what Vince Hagen is, and so it wouldn't allow her to expand, or she can expand. It's very confusing. She can expand, she can do what she wants, but if she were to sell her building to somebody who would be a heavy manufacturer, they couldn't come in. So it lessens the value of her property and her building. So we're trying to propose going back to just industrial zoning. So David and I have been back and forth because of other issues rather than but it'll start becoming a little nicer out there with new landscaping requirements as well.
Without our involvement. Okay?
Anybody else?
Is that okay?
Is what it is.
Okay. All right, then. We will recess into executive session pursuant to Chapter 551, Subchapter D of the Texas Government Code at 6:20 p.m.